Good morning. I'm Jordan Slocum, and this is the Doane College Review on 90.5 KUTT. Every Saturday morning from 8 until 8:30, we take a look at what's going on around Doane College athletics, academics, and more. On today's program, we talk to Doane football coach Matt Franzen ahead of the big showdown later today with number 1 ranked Morningside. We also have a chat with Renae Littrell, the head softball coach at Doane, and a talk with Russ Socek, professor of environmental science. But we begin with football. After last week's 31-17 win over Briar Cliff, the Tigers are 9-0 and up to number 4 in the overall NAIA Top 25 rankings. Doane will be playing number 1 Morningside this afternoon, with the winner not only claiming the GPAC championship, but also likely the number 1 overall seed. You can listen to the game on 90.5 KUTT, kickoff set for 1, pregame at 12:30. Doane was able to knock off Morningside in a huge upset 1 year ago, 49-48. In that game last year, Doane was down 3 touchdowns early in the first half, but an interception by Ben Muff at the end of the second quarter tied it going into halftime.
Third down and goal. 4 yards away, ball at the far hash. Kasdorf takes the snap, runs to his right, stops, looks to his right, throws. It's intercepted by Doane in the end zone. Coming down the near numbers, it's Ben Muff, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 45, 40, 35, 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5. Ben Muff is in for a touchdown.
It remained a back-and-forth game into the fourth quarter. Doane found themselves down 7 in the final minutes. This put them within 1.
Fourth down and 3. Stewart takes the snap, looks to his left, throwing for Reed, one-on-one. He catches it at the pylon, and he's in for a touchdown. Nick Reed, the former basketball star, with a touchdown. And if Peterson makes the extra point, we're tied. Of course, the question is here, if you're down, do you go for 2 and try to go for the kill?
The answer to that question was yes, we'll go for 2.
Stewart fakes a sweep, throws, caught by the tight end, Wetzler, for the 2-point conversion. The Doane Tigers are on top, 49-48 with 17 seconds to go.
Morningside had one chance to respond, but Doane came up with a stop.
They'll have to go 74 yards. 2 receivers right, 2 receivers left. Roseboom, the lone running back. Wager is slot right. Doane has 4 down linemen. They rush for. Kasdorf, quick drop, throws left over the middle, caught the 35, lateral to Wager at the 35, far numbers 40, 45, 50 down the sideline, 40, tries to cut back in, laterals it to Niles at the 40. Niles is hit hard by Pelletier. The game is over. The Doane Tigers have upset the number 1 team in the country. 49-48, your final score. For only the second time ever, Doane has beaten Morningside.
That was last year's big upset win by the Doane Tigers over Morningside. And again, Doane is the underdog today as the number 4 team on the road against the number 1 team, although not nearly as big of an underdog as they were obviously last year. The Tigers are 9-0, picking up a win last time out against Briar Cliff. Doane head coach Matt Franzen on that game.
Well, I feel, looking back at it, feel real good about it. You know, I think we got ourselves into a situation there, and I think when I say that, we put ourselves in a tough situation, I think, where we just didn't play very well for the first 2.5 quarters, and defensively we had a tough time stopping the run, and offensively we just had a tough time. And finally, when we hit a deep ball to Jacob Cornelius, the dam broke and the floodwaters came running down, and all of a sudden everything just happened for us. And so, you know, by the end of the game, we were doing what we wanted to do, and we were playing well. We got the run game going again and the deep pass game, and defensively we were really swarming. So I feel good about it. I feel that we kind of worked our way through some adversity again, and obviously getting away with the win was the main goal, and we were able to do that.
One bad thing that came out of the game was that running back Nate Meyer got injured. With Meyer potentially out or very limited for the Morningside game, does that affect the play calling at all? Do you maybe try to pass more, or is it more of keep doing what you're doing, just put the load on guys like Sonderup and Mustafa?
Yeah, it really won't change the game plan at all, because I think against a team like Morningside, we're going to have to mix it up. We're going to have to be able to run the ball to a degree, and then we're going to have to pass the ball as well. And I think if you allow them to make you one-dimensional, they're going to beat you. And so we need to mix it up. And so if Nate can play, great. If he can play a little bit, then we'll do what we can. And if he can't play at all, then like you said, it's going to be Sondrup and Mustafa and maybe Jackson Love playing a little bit too, and we'll go with it. And so Sondrup and Mustafa last week when Nate went out, boy, they both stepped up and played really well. And so if we got to play, I mean, the scary thing is they're all freshmen, but that's what we've got now, and you can't get around it at this point. So I think they're really talented young men and good players, and so you go in with them and let them do what they can, and then see what happens.
Talking to Doane football coach Matt Franzen, Morningside's a team you defeated last year. Is there anything you can take away from last year's game and put toward this year's game?
Well, I think the biggest thing, you've got new teams this year. We're a different team. They're a different team. But I think the biggest thing that we can take from last year's team is the mindset that, hey, we can beat these guys. We've done it. Last time we played, we walked out of there with a win. And I think a lot of teams go into the Morningside game and defeat themselves before the opening kickoff. And I think that's where you see big scores. When Morningside scores 80 points, I think in a lot of cases it's because the opponent knows that that's going to happen going in. And so I think mentally, like I said, we've got something from last year's game that can't be taken away. And I think it's that our guys know going in that this is a game that we can win. And I think like I said, when you've got that, then you've got a chance. And so Morningside's an extremely talented football team. I think if you look at the teams on paper, they're more talented than we are, but they were more talented than we were last year, and we found a way to win. And so we feel good about it, and I think, like I said, that's what we take from last year is maybe that mental approach that this is something that we can do.
Obviously, it's a huge game with the conference title on the line and also probably the number one overall seed. How is the team's mood heading into this game?
The mindset is good. I think our players especially, all season our guys really haven't gotten uptight about much of anything. As coaches, I can't necessarily say that, and as coaches, that's our job, is to try and worry about the little details, and that's what we do. But for the players, I think our guys are pretty relaxed and taking it free and easy, and we're going to go in with our best game plan, and our guys are going to play and hopefully play as well as we can, and see what happens. But I think the nice thing is that with 9 wins, I think that we've pretty well locked up a playoff spot. The question is, if we win the game, obviously we've got a home game. If we don't, are we going to stay in the top 8 where we play at home, or are we going to have to travel on the road? And so that's really out of our control. We'll go in and play as well as we can and then see what happens.
Talking to Doane football coach Matt Franzen, looking at the Mustang offense, what do you see?
Well, a little bit of everything. They played their backup quarterback last week because their starter, Kasdorf, was injured, but Kasdorf is listed as the starter this week. So I don't know that it makes a huge difference. Their backup is a freshman, but he was like 100% passing last week with 300 and some yards and 4 touchdowns and ridiculous numbers. So whichever quarterback we see, the game plan doesn't change. They throw the ball well. Probably the best receiver that we've seen all season in Connor Niles, and then their running game is very solid with Tyler Cavan as their starter and a few tailbacks that they play. So they do a little bit of everything. They run the ball, they throw the ball, they mix it up. They're a very complete offense, and they score a lot of points. They're averaging 61 points per game on the season, which leads the country by a long way.
Switching to Morningside's defense, what do you see?
Defensively, again, it's a very complete defense. They run a 4-man front, which is the same defense we've seen the last couple weeks. They just do it with much better people. Very athletic in the defensive line, not real big, but athletic. And then their linebackers, the 2 inside linebackers, are the best that we've seen all season. I haven't seen every team in the country, but I would venture to say that the best tandem that probably in the NAIA at this point. And so a really solid run defense, and they're going to commit to stopping the run, and then they man up in the pass game. And so last year we were able to get behind their corners a little bit and make some big plays in the passing game, and we're going to do everything we can to try and make a few of those plays again in this one.
Talking to Doane football coach Matt Franzen. Last question, Coach. What are the things your team needs to do to come away with a GPAC title and win over Morningside?
Well, defensively, we've got to keep them in check, and when I say that, it doesn't mean pitch a shutout. That's not going to happen, and it doesn't mean eliminate the big play, because that probably won't happen either. But it means that we have to minimize the number of big plays that they have, and then make them earn their way down the field. Offensively, we need to mix up the run and pass. I don't think we can afford to get completely shut out in the run game and become one-dimensional. Like I mentioned earlier, we need to find a way to do both of them effectively. And I don't think we're going to score 30 points. If we can score 20-something, that would be great. Somehow last year we scored 49, and I still haven't figured it out. But I think we need to find a way to hold on to the football, get some first downs, and then we need to be smart with our special teams and punt the ball when we need to, and play some field position and that sort of thing. I think both teams, the special teams, are going to play into this thing, because both teams play really good special teams. So those are the things that we need to do, and if we can force a timely turnover, that would be a pretty good deal for us too.
That was Doane College football coach Matt Franzen. And remember, number 4 Doane and number 1 Morningside play this afternoon on 99.5 KUTT for the GPAC title. Kickoff is set for 1 o'clock with pregame at 12:30. This is the Doane College Review on 99.5 KUTT. And remember, the Doane College Review is on the air every Saturday morning from 8 until 8:30. Still to come on the program, we'll talk with Renae Littrell, the head softball coach at Doane. And we'll talk with Russ Socek, professor of environmental sciences. It's time now to look at what happened this past week for Doane College athletics. As mentioned on Saturday, the football team beat Briar Cliff 31-17. Saturday was a very busy day for a number of other programs. For Doane Cross Country, they hosted the GPAC Final. The men finished 5th as a team, and the women finished 6th. The women did have the top individual runner in Marissa DeWispeler, and she qualifies for the NAIA Finals coming up next week. Also qualifying on the men's side is Eric Weirs. He finished 8th in the GPAC meet. The men's soccer team had their season come to an end Saturday, losing in the semifinals of the GPAC tournament at Hastings. Final score 4-1. They finished with a record of 9-7-3. The volleyball team also had their season come to an end as they lost in a tournament quarterfinal in 3 sets against Midland, and they finished their season at 19-13. Additionally, the basketball teams competed on Saturday. The men lost at the University of St. Mary 98-76. Meanwhile, the women were victorious over number 24 Mayville State 84-72. Then on Tuesday, the men's basketball team was victorious at Bethel College by a final of 80-58. The Doane men played again on Wednesday, falling at number 20 Tabor College, 96-65. Meanwhile, on the schedule today for Doane College, along with the big football game between Morningside, the wrestling team will be competing as part of the Bacone Duels. That'll be going on all day. At 9 a.m., they face off against Bethany College. At 10:15, Central Baptist College. And at 12:45, they'll take on Wayland Baptist University. The wrestling team will then take on Bacone College at 2 o'clock today. Again, this is the Doane College Review on 99.5 KUTT. Every Saturday morning from 8 until 8:30, we take a look at what's going on around the athletics, academics, and more at Doane College. We continue the program now with an interview with Renae Littrell, the head coach of the Doane softball team. First off, Coach, is there any off-season work you're able to do this time of the year?
Yeah, we actually we get 24 weeks throughout the year that we get to work with our kids one-on-one. Obviously, we saved the majority of those for the spring. This year, we saved a couple weeks with the intentions of being able to just work specifically individually with our hitters and pitchers. So we're inside for the next 2 weeks, and that's what we're doing right now is just working on hitting mechanics and pitching mechanics, and then getting our pitchers to go live against our hitters a little bit inside. So that's what we're doing right now.
Has anything really jumped out to you so far?
Well, we've been working the last 3 years to get to where we were last year as far as winning conference and get to nationals. So I believe our transition from being somewhat of an underdog type team is changing to now we're more of a tradition-packed team that's looking to defend our conference championship, and our returners are definitely on board with that. So it's just a little bit more, we know what we're doing now, a little bit more than we have before.
Talking to Doane softball coach Renae Littrell, when you look at the squad, does anybody really stand out in terms of leadership?
Well, we have a great group of returners. So as a whole, we really expect our kids to be leaders, all of us, in different ways. And so as a whole, the group of our returners that we have coming back are really taking that lead. We have 3 seniors, one in Ellie Dowdy, who was a second-team All-American for us, pitcher of the year last year in the conference, who obviously just with her presence on the mound and the success that she had last year is a good leader for us. And then we have 2 seniors in Michaela Moore and Danielle Morrow, who have been with me since I've gotten here. So they're on our 4th year with the program and 4th year with me. So they definitely are leaders for us.
Obviously a number of great players coming back, but what about the players coming in? How was the recruiting this past year?
It's gone well. It's nice to win, I will say that. The first couple years, we definitely had to hit the trail and get out and tell everybody who we were. And now it's a little bit on the flip side where we have some really good kids coming to us also. So that's definitely been a nice transition. We have some good freshmen that are in and a couple transfers that we brought in from Western Nebraska that will make some immediate impacts. So we're really excited about those kids. And one freshman pitcher, and her name's Carly Schneiderson, and I think we'll get some time on the mound and kind of help our returning staff out a little bit, so we're excited about those kids.
Talking to Doane softball coach Renae Littrell, with the young players coming in and even the younger players that are coming back, your sophomores and juniors, how are they adjusting to the offseason and a new year?
They're adjusting really well. I mean, we had a couple. We have some sophomores who were freshmen last year that played mostly JV or traveled with us and maybe sat a little bit, but now are rolling into maybe finding some starting jobs. And it's just nice to see their process. And they got to be with us last year, kind of watching everything go down. And now they're just ready to take over some spots and fill in. So we're excited about those kids also.
Obviously, it's hard to tell because the season's still a long way out. But when you look at the GPAC competition as a whole, what does the conference look like this year?
I think definitely better than it was last year. We a lot more GPAC coaches on the recruiting trail than there have been in the past. As we've been out, a lot more names getting thrown from our conference as far as kids from out of state that are being recruited heavily. And I know that there's been a couple changes in the conference as far as head coaches and some good new changes. So I think it's just going to get better competitively. Teams are starting to get out of the conference a little bit and competing down south maybe earlier than they have been before. So I think it's just going to continue to get stronger.
Again, talking to Doane College softball coach Renae Littrell. Last question, Coach. In the next few months, what are some of the things you want to see from your team?
Just continuing to fine-tune what we've been doing. We're blessed with the fact that we have a returning infield coming back, returning pitchers, obviously with Ellie coming back, some new kids that are coming in and molding and learning the system. So it's really just fine-tuning what we've done before. The biggest challenge for us is going to be now we're not that sleeper team anymore. Now we're the team that we're defending the championship. So just kind of changing our mindset to now not just seeking it, but defending it. And so we've been working really hard on talking about the reasons why we got to where we were last year and working to stay, all of us, coaching staff included, on that path of just getting better every day. That's really what brought us to where we were last year. So we want to continue with that and just mentally staying steady and working day to day. We're playing some top 25 teams. We scheduled a little bit differently this year, so we maybe got, as we work through, a better ranking in nationals, hopefully as we get to that point. So we have a tough schedule, and we're excited to get going.
That was Doane softball coach Renae Littrell here on the Doane College Review. They'll officially get their season started on February 19th and 20th when they travel to Shawnee, Oklahoma as part of the St. Gregory's Invitational. My name is Jordan Slocum, and once again, you're listening to the Doane College Review on 99.5 KUTT. Every Saturday morning from 8 until 8:30, we take a look at the athletics, academics, and more around Doane College. Now it's time to look at the academics as we have an interview with Russ Socek. He's professor of environmental sciences at Doane. First off, what is the history of the development of the Doane environmental science major?
Well, it originally started in 1974 as an environmental studies major, and then about 10 years ago, it was decided to take another look at it, and we realized that there was really a need for an environmental science major that was more oriented towards students getting a job, students wanting to move into graduate school. So it was basically a response to just simply changing needs over the years.
What are some of the job opportunities that exist within this area for students who graduate from the program?
Well, there's quite a few job opportunities. We have students working in the Nebraska Department of Environmental Quality. They're working for the natural resource districts in the state. They work, in one case, for Monsanto. We have another one working in an agricultural consulting firm. There's a lot of opportunities in the business world now. A lot of issues impact businesses related to sustainability and conserving resources, those kinds of things.
Talking to Russ Socek, professor of environmental science at Doane, here on the Doane College Review. What are some of the unique features of the environmental science major?
Well, we have two different majors. We have an environmental science major, which is for students who, say in the case of a chemical spill or something like that, would like to go out and investigate the impact of that spill on, say, the chemistry of water or the chemistry of the soils, the impact of organisms that live in those environments, the impact on habitat. And then we have another major now that was just approved last month called environmental studies. And that's a Bachelor of Science degree as well, and so that one would be for individuals who have an interest in the environment, but in a case like a chemical spill, are more interested in what would be the impact on that community, what would be the impact on families, on businesses, on the government systems, in that area. So they're two Bachelor of Science degrees, but they have each one has a different focus depending on the interest of the student.
And both of those majors really seem to have a big impact, especially in this area, with agriculture such a huge focus of the economy and of Nebraska as a whole.
Yeah, it's very timely. We do have an agricultural piece in both of those majors, and some students do come here to study agriculture, and then they move on, say, back to the family farm or in an agricultural consulting firm as agronomists, those kinds of things.
Talking to Russ Socek, professor of environmental science at Doane on the Doane College Review. What capstone opportunities are available to students?
Well, every environmental science major and every environmental studies major has to do a capstone project, and so they can select a variety of types of capstone projects. They can do a research project with an on-campus mentor, a faculty member, or they can go off-campus and do a research or a service learning project with an off-campus faculty mentor, kind of getting them out more into the real world. They do those two things, the off-campus research or service learning project, through our new College to Career Center. So it's a way to connect for students that pick that option with real-world work in a variety of environmental fields.
You mentioned getting out into the real world. What are some of the travel opportunities and locations that students get an opportunity to visit with this program?
Well, Doane has an Office of International Studies, and so we have a system set up already that allows students to do foreign travel for even as long as a semester. But also students can go for shorter periods of time for travel experiences, say to Costa Rica, or in my case, I take them to Florida. We go to the Florida Keys. There's a wonderful marine education facility there where they snorkel in the coral reefs and learn about the marine environment and canoe in the Everglades and get outdoors in that way. And then in my environmental geology class, every fall, I take them to Rocky Mountain National Park in northern Colorado. And so we get to actually be out in the real world and see how mountains were formed, how rocks were formed, the impact of streams on the environment, those kinds of things. And then we also go canoeing on the Niobrara River in Nebraska, wonderful, wonderful place. one of the top 10 canoeing rivers in the nation, but also up there they're dealing with in-stream flows of water. Is enough water going into the Niobrara to satisfy the ecotourism industry and keep the organisms that are in the stream alive and healthy?
Again, talking to Russ Socek, professor of environmental science at Doane. You mentioned a lot of the unique features of the locations that students get to visit, but what are some of the unique features of just this local area that students have a chance to work with?
Well, we have a lot of field trips in our classes. For example, close by, we go to Lincoln to a wastewater treatment plant. We go to a solid waste disposal facility in Lincoln. We go to Cooper Nuclear Power Plant. We go to an ethanol plant near York. We take them to a coal-fired power plant about 10 minutes from Crete. So there's a lot of nearby opportunities that we provide them that relate to directly to what they might want to do for a living.
Specifically at Doane, what are some of the facilities that are available to any students who want to join the program or are a part of the program?
Well, we have a wonderful building called the Lead Science and Mathematics Building, and unlike the old building that we used to be into, this building is designed to support undergraduate research projects. So in this building, unlike other places, our students work in research labs are dedicated to that kind of research. So they don't do their research projects in back of a classroom, for example. We have dedicated spaces just for them to do their work. And then we also have a prairie site about 30 minutes west of here in the rainwater basin. We call it the Aldrich Prairie Research Site. So students that are interested in getting out in the real world, doing research in the rainwater basin, which is an environmentally challenged area, and studying prairie dogs, for example. We have black-tailed prairie dogs out there, as well as a wetland and a prairie area. They can do that. So there's quite a few on-campus opportunities and off-campus opportunities as well. And, of course, we're only about 10 minutes away from Audubon Spring Creek Prairie, and that's a fabulous facility.
Again, talking to Russ Socek, professor of environmental science at Doane. Last question, Russ. What are some of the major projects students are working on right now?
Well, we have two students working out at the Aldrich Prairie Research Site. One of them is doing an agronomy study of the characteristics of soils in various areas. Another one is capturing ground squirrels and doing a blood study of those ground squirrels. And then on campus, we have a student who's studying the behavior of a marine snail, a marsh snail. And we also have another student who's studying aquaponics, which is a method that uses, in his case, fish in an aquarium, and then the waste they give off is a fertilizer for growing plants. And so he's got a small aquaponic system set up, and he's studying how well that works and the effects of certain numbers of fish and snails on the growth of those plants.
Once again, that was Russ Socek, professor of environmental sciences at Doane. And remember, you can go online to doane.edu to read more about that program and any of the outstanding academic programs available at Doane College. And it's now time to wrap up this week's edition of the Doane College Review. Remember, you can listen to the Doane College Review every Saturday morning from 8 until 8:30 here on 90.5 KUTT. And remember, 90.5 KUTT is your home for Doane College football. And later this afternoon, it's the big showdown for the Great Plains Athletic Conference Championship, as 4th-ranked Doane College takes on number 1-ranked Morningside College in Sioux City. Kickoff is scheduled for 1 o'clock with pregame at 12:30, and you can listen to all of the action right here on 90.5 KUTT. Regardless of the result, Doane should be locked in as a postseason team as well in the NAIA National Playoffs. And of course, you can follow along throughout the postseason here on 90.5 KUTT. The first playoff game would be next Saturday, November 21st. Start time and location to be determined. It depends on how Doane plays against Morningside. If they're able to win the game, Doane would be at home because they would almost certainly be the number 1 overall seed. If they lost and stayed in the top 8, they would be hosting the game as well. But if they fell out of the top 8 in the final coaches poll, Doane would have to travel somewhere on the road. Of course, we'll know more about that once we get done with the big game later today, Doane and Morningside. Again, that kicks off at 1 o'clock, pregame at 12:30 here on 90.5 KUTT. As for the Doane College Review, I'm Jordan Slocum. We'll see you next Saturday morning.